All right, hello everyone. Blitzball Champ is back here with a brand new video here on YouTube. So, for those that have been recently following me, I just the other day, over the weekend, beat the Final Fantasy VII Remake on the PlayStation 4. After about 64, 65 plus hours, finally completed my playthrough. And I just wanted to get on here and just talk about it. Kind of give my review on it. Just overall my thoughts. Now that I've finally played and finished Final Fantasy VII Remake. So first off, kind of an introduction. 14 years from when it was first announced as a tech demo, a PS3 tech demo, we finally have the Final Fantasy VII Remake. This was originally supposed to come out March 3rd of 2020, but it ended up getting pushed to April 10th, 2020. So just an extra month for polishing, which I was all cool with, but was so happy to finally get my hands on this game. And, of course, I've beaten the original so many times. It's my all-time favorite game, the original Final Fantasy VII that debuted on the PS1. So first, I'm gonna start off with like my overall thoughts of the story. So at this point, spoiler alerts. So if you haven't played through or finished the remake, or if you even haven't played through the original, then right now you may want to either skip this part or stop right here until after you've beaten it. But you've been warned. You've been warned. So, my original plan was to use what I remembered from the original as sort of a guide when going through this remake. And there were definitely plenty of similarities, but there are also plenty of differences as well, which I expected. I expected some. Others kind of threw me off, but I expected that there were going to be some differences. I mean, after all, it's a remake. It's a remake. I didn't expect it to be 100% exactly told the exact same way. And, it's not. I mean, we were even not getting the full game at first anyway. This is only just the part that covers through Midgar. So, couple of things that I noticed that really kind of was interesting with the story was the adding of the whispers, which I thought was really really interesting how they did that in this adaptation, this remake. The whispers made I felt like it gave a nice little twist to the story, and just being able to see Cloud have the different visions for the later parts of the game. For example, like the summoning of Meteor, the death of Aerith. A lot of different visions that were shown throughout the game through Cloud. So I thought that was really cool that they put a little more emphasis on that, just to give us a little taste of what to look forward to, you know, in the later installments. And I'm sure for those that have played through the original, are familiar with those little moments of visions. So you'll be able to relate. But a couple of things going through with the story. I honestly did not expect to even fight Sephiroth in this first installment. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't expect to fight Genova as well, but as it was getting sort of close to that, I kind of got an idea. Okay, this is probably going to happen. So I I really thought this was really, really different, but at the same time intriguing. Because, if you remember in the original game, according to the story, in the original game, you don't even have your fight with Sephiroth until, the end of the game. I mean, he's the last boss. He's the last boss of the game. So, and, with this, which I guess you can technically say, Sephiroth was the last boss in this first installment, even though, you fight him, at the end of this first installment. So I thought that was really, really neat that they put more emphasis on this part of the story, how they kind of changed it up some. Um, Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. So, near the end, you got that clip of Biggs in bed. Jesse pretty much died, and Wedge had extra scenes in the Shinra building. Because, I mean, if you remember in the original, Wedge fell off, while battling the onslaught of Shinra through the plate support. He fell off near the top. So, and then, of course, with the plate support coming down, being destroyed and coming down on the Sector 7 slums and that whole area, that pretty much originally was what killed off Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. So this was, how they did it this time. I thought was really interesting. The interactions more with Jesse, and just I really liked how they made Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse more interactive. Just from getting a chance to do a mission, doing like pretty much another mission with Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, visiting Jesse's family. Like, I thought that was really interesting, that scene. And I really like these little things that they did with the story, how they kind of tweaked the story of how they told everything leading up to, all the events that happened in Midgar. So, story wise, I mean, I was able to pretty much follow everything for the most part. I liked how they did certain things like, the presentation of the flashbacks of, how Aerith met Elmira and how the whole situation happened with the death of Elmira's husband through the war at Wu Tai. I thought that was really cool, how they did the flashbacks for those. But just, how things progressed even with, certain battles. Like, you got to fight Reno and Rude, and you got to fight Reno for the first time in the church in the Sector 5 slums. I thought that caught me off guard, because in the original you had to escape with Aerith from the soldiers in Reno, the Turk. And then having to fight Reno and Rude on the plate support, and even having a solo fight, having to fight with Rude um, in that little ranch area next to Aerith's house. So I thought that was really interesting. You got a real early taste of the Turks, and got to see a lot of action and boss battles with Reno and Rude. So I thought that was really, really interesting. Um, the way that they showed off, pretty much having the opportunity to give yourselves an advantage in the Airbuster fight, by tweaking its settings. I thought that was really interesting. Um, and this kind of makes me transition into how they did each of the areas. They really did a good job on expanding each of the areas that you go through in the game. Like, they did a really good job with that. going through the assault on the Mako reactor number one, going through on the assault on Mako reactor number five, um, and just the addition of all the side quest work. You know, all the stuff that you could do in Wall Market, Sector 7 Slums, Sector 5. Like, the addition of the side quests I thought were really, really neat. I think they added, you know, some extra flavor to the story, and it gave an opportunity to introduce characters that really weren't a part of the original because maybe they were, you know, more so just those background NPCs, those background extras. But, you know, being able to, in the remake, to really introduce, add on, you know, some new characters to really sort of, you know, spice things up a bit with a variety of characters. So I thought that was really neat. Like what they did for Marl, um, Oates, um, and even though Mayor Domino was in the original, they gave Mayor Domino more of a speaking part in this version. So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was really cool. Roche, that new soldier that you fight in the bike chase scene, the first bike chase scene. So you get two in the remake. You get that one where you're with Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, and you get the one near the end of the game as you escape from the Shinra building. So I thought that was cool. You get two bike scenes, even though I kind of hated the one near the end. I kind of hated that one, but you know, just how they expanded upon, you know, extra characters. Madam M. I thought Madam M was a very, very interesting character. I was definitely digging Madam M. I thought that was really cool. Um, but all the things that stick out to me the most are just the little things that they added on, or just the little different things that they did. Um, I'd have to say going through the Shinra building was actually a lot of fun. Was a lot of fun. I really love the detail that they put into the Shinra building. I love the detail of how they did with the church and the slums. Like just all the areas that you go through. Like Square Enix did a really, really good job really expanding on how Midgar would look with a more detailed, deeper dive. So what you really didn't get that in the original, and that's okay. That's okay. That's understandable. But I just really commend the folks for how well they expanded Midgar. I really really like that. Um, it does make me very anxious to see what they do in these next installments on like the different areas, how they expand those. Like I'm really curious to see how big and expandable Cosmo Canyon will be, or the Mithril Cave, or the Gold Saucer, or Junin Harbor, or Fort Condor, or Nibelheim, Rocket Town, Icicle Inn, Temple of the Ancients, City of the Ancients, even. Like I'm really, really the crater, Costa del Sol. Like I'm really curious to see how in depth and how much they expand the look of these areas that we already know. We already have a feeling that we're going to have to go through. I mean, if this is sticking somewhat to the original story, but you know, I really like what they did with the wall market. You know, they threw a battle coliseum in the wall market. You know, which is I guess it's not that similar to how the battle arena and the gold saucer worked in the original, but it's a nice little something to have. The combat simulations I thought were really cool. A great way to grind, and yeah, I thought them adding that in was really cool. they really took it up a notch with the whole dressing up Cloud into a woman and the whole Honeybee Inn angle. That just was weird with the dance scene and the dance mini game. That was yeah, that was overkill for me. That was overkill. But but I really enjoyed what they did with this game with the different areas, how they expanded upon each of them. Let's dive into more of the gameplay. So I really like how once you've been introduced to each of the characters and you've gotten a chance to control each character, and what I mean by that, like use them in a party. Excuse me for a second. But once you got a chance to do that, um, you could change up the materia any way you wanted without that character having to be in your party. I like that. I really like that. I really like that you were able to do that. So, because there were times where there were certain characters you didn't get a chance to use for a while, as you go through the game. So, I really like how they maintain that. And just the materia system. The materia system pretty much mirrored like the original. Just, probably not as much different kinds of materia as the remake, but it's a good start. It's a really, really good start. And, they had a lot of different combinations. I think the one thing that I did not like was there wasn't really an all materia. There wasn't an all materia that I could, combine with say haste or barrier or cure that I could use to cure my whole party. I really wish that was something that was in the game because I really felt like that would have been a really, really much needed combination to have. But it's only a minor thing for me, but it's just something that I was so used to being able to do. And in order to do that, you'd have to have the right materia combination to do that. So I really thought it was a bummer that something like that, all materia, being able to, you know, buff your whole party, I felt like the fact with that missing kind of sucks. But like I said, only a minor disappointment. Um, I really, I really didn't like how scarce MP was at the beginning. And I guess the reason I say that is because I grinded a lot early in the game. I grinded early. Once I got Tifa and, once I was in Sector 7 slums, I grinded a lot. So, you know, it took a lot of MP to use those higher spells like, you know, level 3 fire, fire Faraga or, Blizzaga or Thundaga, those level spells. I mean, there were at least 20, 22 MP per cast. So I just felt like MP was very scarce if you really decide to grind. And I know that, you can stack MP ups and HP ups, um, a little bit later in the game, but I just didn't like how scarce MP was. But they provided with many different opportunities to rest, and I think that was the all what kind of balanced it out was you had the different benches where you could sit at the bench and fully restore your HP MP. You didn't have to worry about using a tent or using like a save point or anything like that. You could save at any time throughout the game. That's another thing I like. You could save at any time. There weren't save points or anything like that. You could save when you wanted to. So I thought that was really cool. But they had those different benches and those vending machines where you can buy needed items and weapons and stuff like that. Like you'd have the weapon shops, the accessory shops, the materia shops, item shops right there in that vending machine. So I felt like it was. I think it was a fair balance. You know, it's just something that I wasn't really a fan of at first, but you adjust. You know, as you get through the game, you have to adjust to the different things. So that was just something that I had to do. Another thing that I really didn't like was the camera. I There were times where I just really had a hard time maintaining the camera, which I know you can lock onto enemies and stuff, but a lot of times, when I'm trying to like switch enemies, sometimes I'll unclick it and then the lock won't be on anymore. So it was just annoying. And just, not every area that you fight in was like, huge, widely open. And just, sometimes when you're trying to do the camera work and fight, the camera can kind of hang a little bit depending on where you are. So the camera was sometimes really really annoying, and that's probably the biggest disappointment, or the biggest thing that I didn't like about this game was the just the camera work. Even though I had to get used to it, I felt like they could have done a better job and they could have tweaked the camera. So that was the only thing with that, and it was a real pain in the butt dealing with that. What is it, Moto Drive uh, boss on during the second bike ride. I think that's the name of the boss. But yeah, because you had to like slash that up as you were riding the bike with Cloud, and just I struggled so much with the camera work on that. That was, oh, I hated that fight. That was probably like my least favorite fight of the entire game. But um, let's see. But overall, I mean, the gameplay was pretty solid. I mean, I didn't, it wasn't too big, too bad. Yeah, I dealt with the gameplay quite a bit, just with being able to get used to. Now, at first, now starting off, I had to get used to it because just a lot of the battles just felt long, and I felt like I was still getting used to the controls. So I don't know. For me personally, the learning curve, not gonna say it was steep, but I had to learn some things. I had to do some things. Um, I do kind of regret not taking advantage of button shortcuts, but honestly, I was just so used to just picking each of my selections, going through the menu, that I just stuck with that the whole time through. So I just stuck with it. I just stuck with it. It's what worked for me. Hey, I got through the game. So um, let's see. I really liked how you got the chance to control each character, each playable character, with the exception of Red 13. But still, you were able to use Red 13 on the field, and he was at least able to help you out in battles. But I really liked how the main playable characters that they announced, Cloud, Barrett, Tifa, Aerith, you got to control in battle and also on the field. I like that. I like that they did that. I like that they did that. And I felt that really did a good job of really getting a chance to really get to know the character and really use the character to its fullest. So I think they did a great job in making it so that there were opportunities throughout the game that you can use each character in the field. Now, character designs. I really like how they did the character designs. Um, the ones that stood out to me the most were, like I said, I really like Madam M. I really like what they did with Rufus. Rufus looked really, really cool. I love his character design in this remake. Um, Scarlet, Scarlet was cool. Heidegger was cool. Um, Don Corneo, wow, they really. Oh man, I can see why. Like the voice, Mark Hamill, the character, the overall look, it was spot on. It was spot on. Um, yeah, I think that character tripped me out the most. Um, but just I really like, I like what they did with Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. I mean, coming from a game where it was all text, giving them voices, giving more of an opportunity to interact with Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, I thought was awesome. Um, Jesse was very flirty. She was insanely flirty, which was I mean it was funny. It was funny, but getting a chance to interact more with those three, I thought were really cool. It was really cool. Um, but yeah, just going through the monsters. I really feel like they did a good job with bringing back some of the familiar monsters, and most of them had the same sort of strengths and weaknesses that one may remember. Uh, but I do like how they made the boss fights intense. You know, they made it they made them intense and enjoyable. Like, I'll admit, the Scorpion Sentinel boss fight, the first boss fight, at first was kind of rough when I played the demo, but going back through it in the actual game, it was actually kind of enjoyable. Um, the fight with Shiva, enjoyable. The fight with Bahamut was kind of irritating, but I mean, it's Bahamut, so it's to be expected. The first fight I had with Reno was actually a lot of fun. I was actually really digging that, and I just really like the way they did the boss fights. They were interactive. They had they did the cutscene transitions were really really good. Um, just the overall flow of how you go through each of the areas, I thought was really cool. Um, I like how they expanded on the stuff that you can do in Wall Market. The people you can talk to, things like that. Uh, the train graveyard. Going through the train graveyard was a whole new experience compared to the original. I mean, because it led to boss fights, and it was just trippy. It was really trippy. Like the going through the train graveyard was a whole unique experience. Um, Going through the sewers, I mean, it wasn't that surprising. It really wasn't that surprising. But, they expanded on that. Um, and just, being able to do side quests in the different areas that you normally didn't even have a chance to do, or even the opportunity to do in the original, like they how they did with the Sector 7 slums and the Sector 5 slums and the Wall Market. Like, I thought that was really cool. I really do. And I know it seems like I'm repeating myself, but there's just so many things that they did really well with this remake, and a good handful of surprises. Really good handful of surprises. And I think the most that I really get out of this when I look at it is it makes me anxious for more. It really makes me anxious for how the next installments are going to look. It's got me thinking, okay, with this second installment, which Square Enix has already announced is in development, they've also announced that, excuse me, the plan and the idea is to get these installments out as quickly to us as possible. So I don't expect a lot of delays, but I got a feeling many fans will be disappointed because that may mean more installments instead of like 3 or 4. It could turn into a whole bunch more. And you know what? I'm okay with that. As crazy as that sounds, I'm okay with that. Because it's not like they didn't say there would be multiple installments in the first place. We just don't know how many they were going to be. They never gave us a number. So it's not like they didn't let us know ahead of time. It's not like we didn't know that. So I mean, and not to mention, there's plenty of fans out there, that claim they're going to wait until everything is out and then, buy it and play it. It still doesn't change the fact that you're, going to get it and play it anyway. You have the interest. It's just a matter of you're waiting to get it later instead of now. And that's understandable. I can respect that. But it's like, I felt like if it was that big of a deal, if it was that bad, if it annoyed you that much, you just wouldn't partake in it. And I actually know a friend that, just flat out hated it. So therefore he's done with it. But we knew ahead of time it was going to be multiple installments. We just don't know how many. Plain and simple as that. But I do wonder. So we've covered everything up through Midgar. I really wonder if this next installment will cover up to Aerith's death. Which sounds like a lot to cover. Sounds like a lot to cover. Because I mean, when you think about it, in the original, in the first disc, you got all the characters, all the playable characters in the first disc. So I mean, do we get that in this next installment? I don't know, but I think it's really going to depend on how long this second installment will be. But I would think that maybe either this installment or the third installment would probably cover Aerith's death. But we'll see. But we know it's going to happen. I mean, it's obviously going to happen. I mean, it even shows it in the visions in the remake that it's going to happen. But I'm just really anxious to see, how the next installment's going to be. Like, when are we going to get some footage of the next installment? Who can we expect? Because I know Red 13 wasn't playable in this installment, but pretty sure he will be in the next one. So there's a lot to think about, a lot to look forward to. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, if somebody would have asked me on a scale of 1 to 10, what would I give this game? I'd give it a solid 8. I don't see why. I don't see why not. I'd give it an 8. Because like I said, the main thing that hurts it for me, is the camera. That's really the main thing that hurts it for me. But I definitely enjoyed this remake. Um, does it mean that this tops the original? No, I wouldn't say that it tops the original, but it's good. It is good, and I definitely enjoyed it. And like I said, going forward, I may dabble. on the hard difficulty. From what Tricky, shout out to Tricky, from what Tricky was sharing with me, and then of course what was shared with me after I beat the game about hard difficulty, I'm not too looking forward to checking it out, but I figured I'd dabble in it, see what it's like, and just go from there. But oh, and I was a little bit bummed that the level cap is 50. The character level cap is 50, which I mean, I don't know. I think looking at that, it really depends on how they do the installments. Because, like, if I remember correctly, anybody remember the dot hack games? I think there was a set of dot hack games, like five, that I want to say you could beat one and then carry your save over to the next one and still keep your stats. I really wish they would do something like this for this game, but if they're not going to, it would have been nice that you're able to go level 99. But I mean, there's going to be more after this, so I guess I can understand. I wasn't a fan of it, but I can understand. But but yeah, that's pretty much all that I have. Like I said, the retelling of the story I thought went well. You know, they did some similar things. They did some different things. They threw in some new things there. Like I said, the way that President Shimmer died, definitely different. Um, the way that you fight the Turks, different. Way that fight, the fact that you fight Genova, different. Because in the original, you didn't fight Genova for the first time until you were on the boat from Junin Harbor. So I like how they're mixing things up. I like how they did some different things. They did some new things. So um and I really hope to see more variety in the materia. Like there was a decent number of materia, but I really hope they expand upon this and really get more variety of materia. But they did good. They did good. They really did good. Um Same thing with the weapons. I hope there's more variety of weapons in the next installment, but I do like keeping the incentive of keeping your weapons. I do like that incentive. So I hope they maintain that. I really do. Um but yeah. Okay, I think I've rambled on enough. But let me know what y'all think. For those that have played through Final Fantasy VII Remake, whether you've finished, well, I hope you finished it. So for those that have finished it, give me your thoughts. What did y'all like? What didn't y'all like about the remake? What didn't y'all like or liked about the remake as compared to the original? Like, what do you think they should have kept? What do you think they should have gotten rid of? What would you like to see in the next installment that wasn't in this installment? Um, what'd you think of how they told the story? Gameplay. Like, let me know y'all's thoughts about this, because I'm really curious, now that all that time has passed and that this game is finally out. I'm really curious to know what everybody's thoughts are. So yeah, let me know. Leave some comments. Leave some feedback. Would love to hear from you. But anyway, that's it. That's it for my thoughts. I guess thoughts slash review on Final Fantasy VII Remake for the PlayStation 4. I enjoyed it, and I can't wait for the next installment. Anyway, thank y'all so much for watching. This is Blitzball Champ signing off. See y'all later.